All right, let's go through another TV guide. This one is from September of '86. So yeah, 1986, broadcast TV was kind of still the main thing. I've done a couple TV guides so far, so you know we had to do a fall preview issue. For those that may not remember, this was the biggest issue of the year every year. You may not or may not be getting TV Guide at that time, but you probably definitely get this issue, even if you didn't get any of the other ones. So this was the big issue every year, showing you what's new, maybe what's returning, what's new. Been forever since I've seen these, so kind of going to discover this with you. Of course, we got to start off with a alcohol ad. You've seen my other videos, you know how that works. 3-page ad. Wow. And I don't remember the format of these fall previews, so I don't know if they stick all the interesting stuff at the beginning or what, but we'll see. Here's Jim Henson endorsing Mitsubishi TV. Here we go. So we got our alcohol ad, now we got our cigarette ad. So now we're cooking. And for those playing at home, don't take a shot every time you see a cigarette ad, or you'll be blackout drunk by the time this video is over. Again, I'm not going to go through every single page here. So I guess the editor's saying what they would recommend, which might be helpful. Specials. I'm not going to linger on this because, again, I think the most interesting thing about this issue will be, you know, when they're talking about the new shows and so forth. So, extra gum, okay, that's good, because most of the ones I've gone through so far have just been mostly alcohol and cigarette ads. Some of these are probably interesting to look at, so that's why I'm doing these videos. So, you know, here's like an Elizabeth Taylor movie I think I saw. There Must Be a Pony. Here we go. Another cigarette ad. Alamo, 13 Days to Glory. Christy McNichol co-star. Hold on. Gotta see what that is. Women of Valor. Army Nurses Captive. Susan Sarandon and Christy McNichol. Okay, I'm interested. Women of Valor. Somebody Google that for me. All right, wow, 2-page Kmart ad. Yeah, so maybe there were more ads in the fall preview use than the normal, or maybe 86. This is the most recent one I've looked through, so maybe there's just more ads now in these more recent ones. Yeah, this is when cable was coming in, so I feel like cable really kind of took over in the 90s, so a lot of my videos, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the cable stuff. I might point out a few things. Let's see what else. Yeah, it's interesting. Got some comedy, some arts and entertainment. Another 2-page or double-page, half-page ads. Yeah, I don't remember it being this much text, so I think we'll get to some places where they talk about the new shows. So I'm not going to linger too long on the text-heavy articles and stuff. Here we go. So yeah, this is kind of what I remember, where this fall preview would have like full pages devoted or half pages devoted to some of the new or returning shows. And I can't remember if they just featured only new shows or what. Another cigarette ad if you are taking shots. Perfect Strangers was a fun comedy. Made this guy a huge star. Bronson Pinchot. Early Starters, 1986. Valerie had her own own show. I vaguely remember that show. I don't know why, but I remember those two kids. Maybe because I was roughly their age. I barely remember Valerie being in it, but I probably didn't realize she was an established star at that time. You Again. So we know this didn't take off, but we know both of these stars did. So this is another, I think, fun thing about looking through these TV guides. Here's John Stamos before that whatchamacallit show that made him so big. And I think that's Jack Klugman. So they had some show called You Again. Prell, Christy Brinkley, Life with Lucy. So Lucy giving it another crack at another show in the mid to late 80s. She had tons of cachet in Hollywood, so she could probably do that. Yeah, these you know, this is definitely when I was watching TV, but some of these are like vague in my brain. So I do vaguely remember this with the dude who played Freddy, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, Mariska Hargitay. Look how young she was there. And that dude, I think that was the boyfriend from Flashdance. If I'm wrong with some of these, cut me some slack. The Ellen Burstyn show. Something tells me that did not catch on. Microwave popcorn in the 80s. We had this invention called microwaves. Heart of the City, I have no knowledge of this, but here, look again. We got Christina Applegate. So, those of you that think she got her start on Married with Children, there you go. Something to look up. Heart of the City. Probably find some of this on YouTube or something, if nothing else. This was a big show in the 80s. Here's another cigarette ad. Take a shot. Amen was a really big show. I guess it appealed to maybe religious people, but I remember it being fairly popular. And again, I guess I'd have to read through the text here. I want to say these aren't all shows that were brand new in 86, so maybe fall of 86, these are just all the shows that are returning or new. I definitely remember this show. I do not remember Shannon Doherty being on it, but there you go, pre-90210. After Little House, did you know Shannon Doherty was on Little House on the Prairie? If not, drop a like, because you learned something new. Deidre Hall, is that her name? Wilford Brimley. It's a good lineup of people, but I don't think Our House ever caught on. Lonnie's got her own show. There's a great, I don't want to go digress too much, but there's a great channel on YouTube that does like prime time. They show like the prime time lineup in 1984 or whatever, and he'll show the intros to all the shows. And I remember on his channel seeing this, Lonnie with her own show in 86, which didn't catch on. Alf, there we go. Now, if you lived in the 80s, this was the show right here. Wisecracking Muppet dude. Great cast. The father was funny. The two kids were great. The mom was great. Alf was funny. Don't know if it premiered in 86 or not, but here's another cigarette ad. Now you see why I was saying I feel like sometimes that's all they have in these TV guides. My Sister Sam. Oh yeah, that was a fairly popular show. And this is a deep cut, but there's the mom from King of Queens. But I'm here for some deep cuts. So this one looks like maybe it's from the Michigan area. We'll find out later, I think. But yeah, it looks like maybe this TV guide is from the Michigan region. I think it'll say at some point in here. Not sure what this is. Oh, it's like every night. Oh yeah, I guess it's just what's on the big three plus PBS every night of the week. That's kind of handy. I don't remember ever seeing one of these in a TV guide. So this just shows you the prime time for the whole week on one page. And we'll look in more detail, so this would be a great way to see all those, but we'll look in more detail at each night. sit around, you got nothing else to do, you write a letter to the TV Guide, and maybe they'll print it. Yeah, I'm going to skip past this, although I guess for some people this would have been a good reference when they got their TV Guide to find what sports are coming on or whatever. This is the Pay Movie Guide. This is something that came into the TV Guides in the 80s. Just scanning through these, see if anything jumps out that I want to crack wise about. Eddie and the Cruisers, if you haven't seen that movie, it's really good. Kind of somewhat of a mystery. Falcon and the Snowman's a great movie. Definitely should see that if you haven't. And then there's the obvious ones like Karate Kid. All right. And again, you might spot one that I missed, but it's part of the fun. Yeah, so this is the page I was mentioning, and a lot of times when you buy these, you wouldn't even notice this page, but since I got these old TV guides, I did notice that this shows you what region this is serving. So this is serving basically Michigan. You got different markets. You got the Flint market, the Detroit market, the Grand Rapids market. So CBS might have been Channel 3 where you live. It might have been Channel 5 or something, 25 over in Flint. Brand new Saturday morning lineup. 86. I probably still been watching some cartoons then. Kissy Fur. Gummy Bears I was definitely watching. Smurfs I was watching a little bit of. Alvin and Chipmunks is one of my favorite. Kid Video. Tell me if you remember that. I love that cartoon. That's those right there. If you don't remember Kid Video and you kind of like 80s cartoons, at least look up the intro to Kid Video. It's fun. Pee-wee's Playhouse. There you go. Yeah, for a young kid, Pee-wee's Playhouse was the greatest. So maybe we'll look in more detail on some of these. But yeah, I would watch Bernstein Bears if I got up that early. I don't remember Teen Wolf having a cartoon. Definitely watch Pee-wee's Playhouse. Didn't care about watching a wrestling cartoon, but WWF was huge back then. Since this is Saturday morning, I'm going to scan and just see if anything else jumps out. Looks like Mr. T had his own cartoon. Dukes of Hazzard cartoon, I remember that. It was pretty fun and good. I think it might have had the voice actors from the show, but don't quote me on that. Muppet Show, that must have been like a rerun. Kissy Fur, people always refer to that, but I don't think anybody actually watched it. Rainbow Bright. Children of the 80s will remember that. Care Bears Family. Yes, I mean, 80s, Saturday morning, probably the best it ever got. 70s was, you just didn't have as much variety. 80s, you had it all. You had the good stuff from the 70s, you had new stuff. Yeah, just tons of good stuff on. Flintstone Kids, Get Along Gang, The Real Ghostbusters, that was a cartoon. Foofer, I vaguely remember that, or at least remember people talking about it. Then Saturday afternoon, you just get like movie reruns and weird stuff. Looks like some track and field. That is interesting. I never saw track and field on in the 80s. Must have been maybe a Michigan thing or bigger markets, or maybe I just never noticed it. Wow, okay, this is a little different than the other ones I've gone through. So it looks like we're getting more channels now as we get later into the 80s. Because the ones I've looked through have about this many channels. So it looks like things are expanding. So this is the Saturday night prime time. Let's take a quick glance at this and see what catches our eye. Looks like Michigan was on a different time zone. So their prime time started earlier than it does on the East Coast. Facts of Life 227, Golden Girls. Wow, that's a pretty good lineup of comedies. Looks like other channels aren't trying to compete. They're just showing movies and stuff. So it looks like, I think that would have been NBC. Looks like they might have ruled Saturday nights. Alright, like I said, this is going to be a thick issue, so it's going to be a long episode, and I may skip past some of just the generic stuff. Win a VCR. Yeah, look at that. VCRs cost $4.50 back then, and they weighed like a ton. They took up like a whole bookshelf. Little House on the Prairie reruns. Fabian's Good Time Rock and Roll. Okay. The Winds of War. I vaguely remember that. I think it was like a mini-series. Robert Mitchum. Jean-Michael Vincent. Go Google that one. It's like one of the pay channels is, oh no, Network Premiere, a Raging Bull. It's an acclaimed movie. It's kind of a weird movie. Guy's just a wife beater. So you get to see him beat his wife through the whole movie. There's no real like redemption story or anything to it. There's the Lonnie Anderson we were talking about. Full page ad, so it's probably a news show, and they were giving as much promotion as they could to it. Miss America, hosted by Gary Collins, and I guess the one, Susan Aiken. She became a little bit of a star. So I guess maybe she started off as a Miss American winner. All right, so this is late Saturday night. Let's take a quick look at Saturday Night Live. Dudley Moore hosts. And then the great 80s cast. Oh, Anthony Michael Hall was still on at that time. That's interesting. I don't know how he ended up on a comedy sketch show. Sunday morning, there's usually not a ton to look at. It's kind of a weird time for TV. So a lot of times I don't go too deep into the Sunday morning spots. Looks like TBS is, oh, that's WTBS. Yeah, that was the one out of Chicago, I believe. And I could be wrong about some of these facts. I was trying to pull this off from my memory. Star Search was a big show. I guess in some ways it was the precursor to American Idol. People that like to watch that kind of crap would watch Star Search. There were some stars that came out of this show, though. I think Aaliyah came out of Star Search. A bunch of stars came out of it. A bunch of actual stars. Sunday night. So it is kind of weird. The format of these, they'll have this nighttime layout in the middle of the day. So then when you flip to the next page, it's like 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. But let's see if anything on Sunday night jumps out. Of course, we know 60 Minutes was on. Fraggle Rock on regular television. So again, I don't think I ever saw that at where I live, but maybe up in Michigan you could watch Fraggle Rock on broadcast TV because that was like an HBO show. Dumbo movie, Last Days of Patton, The Winds of War. Wow, it's like the Battle of the Movies on Sunday night. Probably a good time to sit down and watch a movie. All right. Yeah, during the day on Sunday, you're probably just getting like old movies and kind of boring stuff. And football. Eagles and Bears, it looks like. Another antifreeze. There's another TV guy I went through that had the antifreeze ad. Must have been important to get your antifreeze back in the 80s. Old radio shows on cassette. Some of these radio shows are incredibly well done. Great voice acting, great drama. There you go. As Letterman called them, the Geezer Squad. There's that Our House we mentioned with Shannon Doherty. Deidre Hall. I'm just looking for anything that catches my eye. Oh, it's the same guy from Patton. That's interesting. What's his name? Yeah, that's interesting. I never knew they made like a follow-up to that. Oh, George C. Scott's right in front of me. So they were showing Dumbo on regular TV, which is probably quite hard to catch Disney movies back then. Yeah, this was a pretty big miniseries. Miniseries kind of ruled the 80s, and this was definitely one of the popular ones. VHS. This is probably that wacky club, so this price is highly misleading. Evening at the Pops. Just seeing anybody else interesting is on the Evening at the Pops. I don't see anything off the top of my head there. Hollywood Squares. Felicia Anamad Rashad. There's Bronson Pinchot. He was everywhere. Emma Samms was, I think she was on Dynasty. Ed Harris, and looks like maybe a made. Oh, that's cable. That's like made for TV. Return of Sherlock Holmes. Wrinkly Pups. Turn the page to find out how she gets to fit in those pants. Fad diets came in the 80s, never went away. All right, so we're early Monday morning. So if you see my other videos, I do like to look at what's on in the morning during the week to see like what cartoons you might have caught before you went to school. In this case, if you're living in Michigan. So I'm just scanning these real quick. Adventures of Galaxy Rangers. I don't remember that one. My Little Pony. So yeah, 7 a.m. You can eat your cereal. I would watch Heathcliff. I definitely remember watching that when I was a kid in the mornings. Inspector Gadget. Talked about that in one of my other videos. One of my all-time favorites. Always had to catch in the morning. I don't know why that was. Mr. Rogers, still on in the 80s. Still doing great stuff. Fantasy Island at 9 a.m. Be a rerun. Family Ties. That's interesting. It'd have to be a rerun. Local News Lady. Sue Zelenko. Local Legend, I guess. Come Home to... Oh, Incredible Hunk. Okay. Yeah, during the afternoon, you would have some game shows and stuff, like $25,000 Pyramid. Let's see if Price is Right. It was 11 o'clock back then. Yeah, sure enough, there's Price is Right. And in the afternoon, when you get home from school, you could watch Santa Barbara soap opera. I remember that. We loved that show because it was like a brand new soap. So if you weren't a soap freak, you want to get in on the ground floor. Santa Barbara premiered in like 84. She-Ra, there you go. See, this is a great era. He-Man or She-Ra. Toss up on which is better. I almost want to say She-Ra was the better of those two. Yeah, so in the afternoon, get home from school, maybe watch a cartoon or two. A lot of rerun type stuff, so a lot of 70s shows and stuff. Rambo cartoon. I mean Rambo toys. Monday night. Yeah, it's not for this fall preview. I guess I hyped it up a little too much. There's not a lot in here in terms of hyping up all the new shows, other than that front section that we saw. So Scarecrow and Mrs. King, Kate and Allie. People kind of loved that group of shows. Cagney and Lacey. I kind of like Cagney and Lacey. I never watched those other ones. Let's see what else on Monday night. MacGyver. Bob Hope. I don't know why he's still on TV in the 80s. Monday Night Football. I don't see anything else in terms of top stuff. Maybe that Pat movie was the other thing that was on. Hope lampoons the new TV scene. Hear an old guy crack wise about new stuff. Guess that's kind of what I'm doing now. Ernest Borgnine. It's a funny story about him in Airwolf. He's like the only guy giving it his all. Everybody else was phoning it in. Let's check this out. Okay. Oh, wow. So I wonder if this was the first year of LA Law. Because check out this ad. It kind of makes it look like it is. This was a huge show in the 80s. Bunch of great actors and actresses. There's a couple more actors and actresses that aren't even on this page. Don't remember all their names. Harry Hamlin, that guy, Jimmy Smits. Yeah, there's some other. They're all listed here. But yeah, there's some other good actors on that show too. Quite a lineup. Late night. Ozzy Osbourne's going to be on Letterman. Got to stay up really late to see that, though, because it came on after Carson. Looks like this era, more channels stayed on the air late at night. So there was definitely an era in the early 80s and maybe before where almost all the channels would go off the air. But it looks like if you were up at like 4 a.m., there was a few things to choose from. Tuesday night, baseball. Wow, Tuesday night baseball game on regular TV. I don't remember that. It'd be in September, so it wouldn't be like the playoffs or anything. MASH, Wizard, Remington Steel. Guess that was still on in 86. I don't remember it lasting that long, but my memory's probably not perfect on that. Cheers and Night Court, two great shows to watch on a Tuesday night. Moonlighting, that was a huge show. Who's the Boss was great. Moonlighting was a huge show. For those that don't remember, there's a lot of like great TV opening themes. A lot of people forget about Moonlighting. There's a great song that opens up the Moonlighting, and it's by Al Jarreau, I think. So Google that if you haven't listened to it in a while. Yeah, I thought I remember this Wizard show. Definitely watched a few of those. Can't remember his name. He was on The Fall Guy, and I guess he got his own show. Yeah, here we go. Moonlighting. Great dynamic between those two. They became movie stars after that show. Jack and Mike. I don't think this one lasted because I don't remember that. Almost looks like they're trying to copy Moonlighting. Lovers sometimes. Wow, check this out. So I don't remember this. This must have been another one of those miniseries or made for TV. Pretty good lineup. Ken Norton, Lyle Alzado, David Carradine, Billy D. Williams. Yeah, two great comedies right there. Yeah, there's a lot of like after school special type stuff in the 80s. So here's one of those. I don't remember this one with Malcolm Jamal Warner in it. Benny Hill. One of the few reasons to watch PBS. PBS in the 70s, 80s was good for Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, Benny Hill, and Reading Rainbow. Throw all the rest out. And don't tell me about Doctor Who. So yeah, Benny Hill, there you go. If you don't know, you don't know. All right, Wednesday. Again, the daytime stuff is going to basically be the same for every weekday. Sports calendar. Yeah, these are a little misleading because these are a lot of like ESPN, so normal people would not have these channels. Or a lot of people wouldn't. Lots of movies. I was expecting more shows. Maybe because this is the fall preview, maybe we're not getting all those new shows in for a couple more weeks. So right now they're just filling in with like movies and stuff. So maybe the regular lineup that we're looking at here is a little disappointing. Give Me a Break was a good show. There's Dynasty. Magnum PI still on in '86. I don't remember that, but I'm not, Highway to Heaven was a big show. Michael Landon. So Wednesday night's pretty good. St. Elsewhere. Never watched that. People loved it. It was a huge show. I think it has a pretty good opening theme, too. Clue with Snoopy and Peter Sellers. Okay. It looks like some of the shows are premiering, so yeah, I'm not clear on what's going on in this episode of, or this copy of TV Guide. Perfect Strangers. Head of the Class, I remember that show. That was a great show. A lot of good cast members on that. I think it lasted 2 or 3 seasons. It's definitely one of the ones we watched. Yeah, it looks like Magnum was still on, and The Equalizer. That was a pretty good, more serious, harder edge show, I think. I never watched it, but it seemed like it had a little harder edge to it. Here's your nighttime soaps, kind of campy, like he's choking her or whatever. But that's why people tuned in, I guess. Don't remember Hotel. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that. With she was on Greatest American Hero, I think. Connie Selica. Don't quote me if I mess some of these names up. I'm pretty sure that was her though. Alright, Wednesday late at night. If you're up at midnight, you can watch TJ Hooker. Great show from the early 80s. It was probably off the air by now in 86. Oh wow, Sally Jesse was already out. Beginning of the end for trash TV. Not just her, but those type of shows. Thursday evening. Yeah, so again, I don't know if all these are like season premieres or what, but Thursday was huge for NBC. So as you can see, Cosby Show, Family Ties, Crime Story 2 Hours. I think that was that one with Dennis Farina. Maybe we'll see an ad or something in here. Thursday Night Football back in the 80s. I definitely don't remember that. They aren't even trying to compete, though. I mean, like, you got Cosby Show, and then you got Knots Landing and Medical Marvels. So I guess they were like, well, we're going to lose, so we'll just put some stuff on Thursday night. Got some bad printing on this page. Got some yokel news anchors from Michigan. Yeah, there's Knots Landing. What was her name? She was a knockout. Can't remember her name at the moment. She had like the most amazing blue eyes. Got an old John Wayne movie. Yeah, here we go. Crime Story. This was a awesome show in my opinion. It was similar to Miami Vice. I think Michael Mann might have produced it. I think it ran for a couple seasons. And it was like set in the 40s or something in like Vegas maybe. But that was a fun show. Check that out if you haven't seen it. If you like 80s shows. If you don't like 80s shows, you're probably not watching this video. Yeah, 2-hour premiere, I guess. I think they moved it to Friday night right after Miami Vice eventually. Ed McMahon schlepping something. Man, he was always schlepping something. All right, we're getting to Friday. Some more printing errors here. Love Boat. I'll go through some 70s TV guides, so I'll talk more about Love Boat and stuff. Friday night, here we go. Yeah, how good is this? A-Team, Miami Vice, Crime Story. Boom. That's all you need. You're not watching Scarecrow and Mrs. King, for Christ's sakes. But yeah, there's lots of good shows on Friday night here. Looks like some channels are just running some movies. Scarecrow and Mrs. King was pretty popular. I think one of the ladies from Charlie's Angels was on that. Yeah, Miami Vice at 9. Yeah, she was one of the ones. What is this? Sidekicks and Starman. So I don't remember this, but there's Buck Rogers. And I wonder if this is based on the Starman movie. Starman, Star Child. Starman movie is absolutely great. I'm sure this show is disappointing, but it'll be hard to live up to that movie. Not sure how this guy was such a big star, but that's just me editorializing again. What is this? Guess how you say rock and roll in Japan. Yeah, there's another great ad for that. Yeah, they must have premiered on Thursday night and then just did like the regular episodes on Friday night after that. All right, there's always a little bit of back matter in there, so don't click off yet. These I've talked about. These are all like entertainment related stuff, so you could probably figure some of these out if you know a little bit about entertainment stuff going on in the 80s. Like the Blank Ridge Boys. Some of us remember the Oak Ridge Boys, so it's not a hard one to figure out. If you want, pause the video, take a screenshot, print it out, do it. Might be fun. And if you've not worked a crossword puzzle before, you don't have to know all the answers. You figure out about 40% of them, and then some of the letters are filled in for some of the others, and it helps you figure those other ones out. Like here's Blank Shot, Paul Newman movie, one down, Slap Shot, right? All right, another whiskey ad. We got our whiskey, we got our cigarettes. We might brush our teeth at some point, but who knows? Okay, here's some more stuff from like the new fall premiere stuff. So Designing Women was a huge show. All these stars were big at that time. Annie Potts, love her. She was really big. There's The Wizard. Vaguely remember that. Cigarette ad. Matlock, here we go. A sensation for the old timers. People love Matlock. People love Golden Girls. All jokes aside, they used to make shows for various age demographics. Why don't they do that anymore? There's lots of old people. They might relate. They might enjoy. They might like different subject matter. Why not have some shows for them? So that's all gone now. But props to 70s, 80s when we had a variety of shows to appeal to a variety of demographics, and everything wasn't just some violent crime cop, whatever. I'll get off my soapbox. I might get back on it in a second though, so you never know. There's Crime Story. I don't remember who else was in it, but there were definitely some other appealing actors besides just Dennis Farina. I remember the villain guy was very charismatic and stuff. Here's another cigarette ad. If you're not blackout drunk yet, you're going to be after you take another shot. Jack and Mike. Yeah, that one must not have caught on. Together We Stand. Here's another guy where it's like, why was this guy ever a star? But we could say that about lots. Don't remember this show. Again, that's why that YouTube video channel I was mentioning before is good, because they'll show the intro, they give you a little context, they might even show the actors' names, and it's fun to watch. And the guy, he compiles it really well. Yeah, this was a great show. Robin Givens got her start on there, but it was a great cast. There's even a couple other people on there that aren't in this picture. Better Days, I don't remember that at all. Another cigarette ad. Now you're totally gutter drunk if you took a shot. Kay O'Brien. Yeah, some of these obviously didn't catch on, but then again, that's why we go through these. Might see something we never knew about, like earlier when we saw Christina Applegate in some show. There's Buck Rogers. I vaguely remember that. Pretty weird premise. Another cigarette ad. put the bottle away. I'm gonna be harmful to your health if I keep advocating. Sledgehammer was a great show. Funny, kind of a funny take on maybe Clint Eastwood's Guy, but super funny show. Kind of didn't take itself seriously, which we had a lot of good shows like that in the 80s too. Not so serious, just have fun, crack some jokes. Yeah, this looks like it's definitely based on the Starman movie, and that's a hard one to live up to. Looks like public TV's got their own stuff. Yeah, Nature might have been one of the other shows to watch, but otherwise, you don't turn on PBS unless you're watching Benny Hill, Sesame Street. If you smoke, please try Carlton. Funny. Rundown of some movies. Join the Army, some sports rundown. Don't worry, we always got to look at the back page because we never know. Is it going to be cigarettes? Is it going to be alcohol? I don't even know if there's a third option. Home video. Yeah, we'll probably go into more detail on some of these in other videos. Looks like at this time VCRs were catching on enough, and they definitely were. We finally had one in my household in '86. And maybe these are ones, kind of like a list here of things you might look for on video. Jane Fonda's workouts were huge. All right, what's the final page going to be? What did I tell you? You don't have to be psychic. Thanks, folks. Catch you next time.